What's going on? You're rocking with the best basketball YouTuber in the game. It's Dannouf Sports. And before we get into the video, I want to say I am a huge Lonzo Ball fan. And we all know Lonzo Ball got traded from the Pelicans to the Bulls this offseason. With the Bulls, he's going to play on a roster stacked with talent in Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. Overnight, all the Zo stands were turning up, ready to proclaim Lonzo a surefire all-star next season and the Bulls as sleeper contenders for the Eastern Conference Finals. And as good as Lonzo Ball will be next season, I think it's time to pump the brakes a bit and make more reasonable expectations for Lonzo next season. Here's 5 reasons Lonzo Ball will not be an all-star next year in Chicago. Number 1, it takes a lot to be an all-star, even in the Eastern Conference. Because last season, guys like Trae Young, Chris Middleton, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Domantas Sabonis all failed to be all-stars. Trae Young missed it while averaging 27 points and 9 assists per game going into the all-star break. And some will say that, well, Ben Simmons was an all-star last year and he had a similar profile to Lonzo and he was an all-star. But Ben was arguably a top 5 defender in the NBA last season and averaged 14 points and 7 assists. But let's be honest, a big reason why Simmons made it, for example, and Trae Young did it was team success. The Philadelphia 76ers were number 1 in the East last season, especially heading into the all-star break. For Lonzo Ball to be an all-star, the Bulls would also need to be a playoff contender near the all-star break. Since they have so much star power, that should help, but then he also would need to boost his stats at least a little bit. Most all-stars have some combination of 36 or more combined points, rebounds, and assists, which for Lonzo would look something like 21 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds. And while it's not too much of a stretch to say he could reach those numbers, and a year-over-year improvement like that would make him profile to come out to be like an OKC version of Russell Westbrook with KD or a Los Angeles Clippers version of Chris Paul. That is a sudden jump from what he was last season, where he was not the primary ball handler for his team. Because of that, I think it's reasonable to assume he'll make a smaller jump in his overall statistics, and a lot of that will have to do with his opportunity, which I will get to next. The second reason Lonzo Ball will have trouble becoming an all-star year 1 is he will be sharing the court with a lot of other high-usage players. For those who know, Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine were all-stars last year, and of course Vucevic did that with the Orlando Magic. But even when he came over to Chicago, Vucevic had a usage percentage of 28.2%, and LaVine for the full season was at 31%. When you toss in DeMar DeRozan, who was at 26.1% last year for the Spurs, these guys are used to having the ball in their hands. Usage has a high correlation to some of the better players in the game and to overall opportunities to create offensive statistics, with guys like Luka, Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, and Bradley Beal having fantastic offensive seasons last year, and of course, they were the top 4 in usage as well last season. But Lonzo, over the course of his career, has never had a usage above 25%, which is typically the threshold for all-star players. On this basis alone, he slots into the offense as more of a 4th option and might show that he will have limited opportunities compared to the other players on the team to get all-star stats within the Bulls' pecking order. It goes to say as well, if you follow the money, those guys are getting paid more than him as well, and they're likely expected to do more within the offense. But let's talk about that offense. That brings me to my 3rd reason why Lonzo will struggle, and it's because the ideal Billy Donovan offense focuses on equal opportunity ball movement, sometimes at the detriment of individual stats. Now, that doesn't mean Lonzo won't have any opportunities as a creator at all. In fact, I believe Donovan will surely utilize Lonzo better than the Pelicans. He loves a roster constructed to have a lot of guys move the ball. In his best, most well-tailored roster for his coaching style was the year that he had Chris Paul on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that year, he had an absolutely dominant lineup, a 5-man unit with Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and Steven Adams that mauled opponents. That was the 4th best 5-man lineup in the regular season that year in terms of plus-minus. Donovan loves the idea of having 3 shot creators and playing a drive and kick offense with one guy who can screen the ball really well. He'll definitely be able to do that with Ball, LaVine, and DeRozan, and your screener would be Vucevic. But when you look at that Thunder team, no player averaged more than 20 points per game or 7 assists, and they were still the 5th seed in the West for the record. So they were very good, but the players themselves did not singularly stand out from each other. What that goes to say is yes, everyone will get more opportunities to have the ball in their hands. And Lonzo may be a little bit better, but the way Donovan utilizes his system where no player will need to put up all-star numbers to be great, this might not help Lonzo elevate his stats enough to be an all-star. Which brings me to my 4th reason why Lonzo Ball won't be an all-star. Even if he gets more opportunities, he still hasn't shown that he is ready to be an elite scoring option within the NBA as a 3-level scorer. Lonzo, I know, works his tail off every offseason, but we have to say to this point, he has yet to show the ability to be a high-level scorer from all over the court, most importantly, dominating inside the restricted area and within the mid-range. He needs to show that he can really be a strong scorer from layups and dunks as well as his floaters. I predict it is unlikely he will see a significant jump in his shooting percentage, which, while it has steadily improved every season, was still only 41% from the floor last season. And no player last year scored above 20 points per game last season and shot the ball worse than Russell Westbrook. But even his 43.9% from the field was better than Lonzo Ball last year. To be a better scorer, in this offense in particular, Lonzo will have to be efficient. And for Lonzo to bump his numbers up at least a little, he may have to show that this offseason he was working on a true interior package to again get towards those all-star numbers. And lastly, the 5th reason why Lonzo Ball will not be an all-star for the Chicago Bulls next season is because, to be entirely honest, the Bulls would be extremely happy if he showed up on the court and just produced as much as he did last season. Lonzo Ball won't be an all-star because the Bulls don't need him to be an all-star. Lonzo is getting paid by a team no matter what this offseason. He is a great two-way guard, but let's be clear. If Lonzo averaged the same numbers as he did last season, 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, the Bulls would be absolutely ecstatic. The Bulls would love to get Lonzo used to being a ball mover and not just spotting up in the corner as much, and that will clearly involve him touching the ball a lot more and letting the offense run in the break through him. But what he's going to be most useful for is doing things like guarding the other team's best on-ball creator and being an outlet valve to allow the offense to continue to run for a full 24-second shot clock rather than just spotting up. The Bulls are entirely brought into the Lonzo experience, and don't get me wrong, they would love to see him grow as a player, but they could still be a playoff team even if he is not, especially next year, and that's a main factor in the reason why Lonzo Ball will not become an all-star next season. Thank you for sticking all the way through to the end, and if you like the content, drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. You can comment if you sub down below and let me know if you disagree with my take. Here's 2 more videos about the Chicago Bulls. You can also subscribe to the channel or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DannyDoSports. I hope to see you guys soon.